From one user losing all of his retirement savings to another user trading his way into debt, we're gonna go over the most DEGEN WallStreetBets trades of the meltdown. Bytech2 is a user who accidentally got rich trading options. It was Thursday, November 20th, and Bytech felt like he should throw all of his money on some risky options before Thanksgiving rolled along. The S&P 500 was already down over 3% for the past week, but Bytech felt like it still had a lot more room to fall. He threw just about 5K into out-of-the-money 0 DTE puts on SPX, which was a pretty big chunk of his $41,000 portfolio. And luckily for Bytech, in just about 2.5 hours, the index fell about 2% from its peak in the morning. His $4,700 position was now worth a whopping $154,000. Accidental 5K to 150K. In the comments, he says that he's a warehouse technician and that 50K was his entire net worth before this trade. Part of the reason he let the options ride out was because he was busy at work and could only check his phone during breaks. Anyway, he was feeling like he had the magic 8-ball now, so he decided to make an even bigger trade the following day. This time, instead of looking at the S&P 500, he was looking at the Russell 2000 index. Even though the overall market was red and brought nothing but pain over the past 3 weeks, Bytech felt like that special Friday would be the day that everything turned around. That being said, he threw just over $10,000 into even more 0 DTE options, but this time got calls instead of puts. The index needed to rise about 1% for him to make a profit on the trade, and luckily, the index rose just over 2% only 2 hours after market open. His calls were now in the money by $20, so he got back to WallStreetBets with accidental 10K to 60K. With $200,000 in accidental gains over the past 2 days, Bytech was ready to keep the hot streak going. Except he woke up the next day and it was stupid Saturday. Monday rolled along, but he didn't feel like trading that day. On Tuesday though, he was ready to make his biggest trade yet. He felt like the market would be very volatile that day, so he made a strangle on the Russell 2000 and S&P 500 index. The market rose a fair amount that day, but it looks like Bytech got calls that were just too far out of the money. It looks like his puts and calls would expire worthless for both indexes. Accidentally lost 60K. A day after that, he made 6K, and the day after that, he made another 9K. All accidentally, of course. Purple Arm 105 is a user whose retirement plan is full porting into 0 DTE SPY options. His first post was made back on June 30th, and like I just said, he started off strong by full porting into Apple. He threw 35.5K into out-of-the-money calls, $6,700 into daily 2x leverage shares, and the last $5,200 into ticker symbol SRPT, which I didn't even know existed. On that day, Apple made an announcement about the 10th anniversary of Apple Music, but more important than that, they also let everyone know that they were considering using third-party AI from companies like OpenAI to help power a future version of Siri. The stock rose over 2.5% throughout the day, and Purple Arm's portfolio jumped 53%. Options in a Roth is lunacy, but Purple Arm said, with AI sharp mind and Siri's wise voice, innovation sparks, making markets rejoice. By July 7th, Apple carried his Roth IRA all the way up to 63.6K and his non-retirement account to 196K. Up just about 95K over the past week, he was feeling more confident than ever and said that he was gonna full port back into calls Monday morning. Monday rolled along and he didn't make a post about getting Apple calls, but instead full ported into something else a couple weeks later. Palantir is ready for a big drop. Purple Arm threw everything in his Roth IRA on Palantir puts and said that he was also going to full port his normal brokerage account as well once those funds settled. 2 weeks went by without any update until he finally came back on August 6th. Instead of Palantir falling back down in this time period, it actually hit a new all-time high at $180 a share. Round 2. Blew up my Robinhood and IRA going all in on Palantir puts. Haven't opened the app since. But guess what? I'm running it back on Webull now. You only lose if you quit. So yeah, Purple Arm pretty much brushes off what would have been a $250,000 loss. He's hiding from scary Robinhood and seeking comfort in the arms of Webull with $60,000 on the line. He was already down another 4K on Webull, and a week later, it looks like he completely ditched the Palantir puts. He didn't strike it rich on Webull just yet, and he of course blew up 2 accounts on Robinhood, so he took the most logical course of action and bought $500,000 worth of Ulti, a yield max ETF, which have dividend yields like this and charts like this, just to underperform the market. He also says half the shares were purchased with margin, which only makes it an even riskier investment. We never got an update from him on that, but Ulti's chart isn't looking particularly promising. A week and a half after that, he found his next big winner though. He threw $383K into Snapchat calls and said enough with the Palantir puts noise. Most people let him know that they didn't think this was going to be a winning trade. It doesn't look like he held, but even if he did, the stock is only up like 6% 3 months after that post, which isn't a big enough jump for his calls to be in the green. It was November 3rd now, and Purple Arm was getting pretty desperate. He moved back on over to Robinhood, and it looks like he did some sort of traditional IRA to Roth IRA transfer, and threw $120K into out-of-the-money Adobe calls, leaving only $174 on the sidelines. Only a week in, he was already down $21,000, but this was no biggie according to him. Trading close to 52-week low. Can it go lower, or is it time for the pop? Turd Cutter 3 said, perhaps the worst play I've seen in months, and that's saying a lot for Wall Street Bets. He had just about 99K in his portfolio, and taking a sneak peek at his other accounts on Robinhood, we better hope that this is the one that finally strikes gold. Over the next 2 weeks, Adobe didn't pick back up, so those calls lost him even more money, but he made a new post on November 26th. It was Thanksgiving Eve, and he said, locked in profits on Google, gains are gains. Thanks to Google, he'd be able to afford a turkey for the family tomorrow. Jokes aside, he was posting this to show that he bought low and sold low when he could have sold high and made 105% gain over a few months. That was his last post though, so only time will tell if he moves on to another brokerage and donates money on there as well. YOLOing your whole portfolio on 0 DTE SPY options is never a good idea. All it takes is one optimistic tweet and you'll be heading to your nearest Wendy's to pay that month's rent. But with Imperial Trader Funding, the sponsor of today's video, you can make big trades without risking your nest egg. Imperial Trader Funding is a first-of-its-kind prop trading firm that allows you to trade stocks, options, and more with their money. You put up a small, set amount of capital, pass an evaluation, and they let you trade with up to $125,000 in real funding. This means you can trade with a lot of money, but if things go wrong, you're only out $100 instead of $100,000. It lets you put your skills to the test, and hey, if you realize you're not the greatest trader, you can stop there and you'll have saved your actual portfolio from taking a hit. They let you trade anything from 0 DTE options to complex delta neutral strategies like short strangles or iron condors. You trade, they provide the capital, and you keep up to 90% of the profits depending on the account you select. You also get a full purchase refund when you get funded. On top of this, they're giving viewers of the channel a 10% discount if you sign up with the link down below in the description and use code YUMMERS, and a free 10K evaluation to the first 100 people, so be sure to check it out if you're interested. WSB Newbie is a user who was feeling a bit too bullish on Applied Digital and Meta. His biggest trades were made right at the end of November, but he's actually been posting to Wall Street Bets for about 5 years now. His first post was made on January 14th of 2021, where he showed that he was up $6,700 on Magnite calls. 6 days later, his 15.6K worth of calls was now worth 21.4. Only 2 days after that, he posted a screenshot of his Palantir calls that he was up 51% on at the time. After that though, WSB Newbie took a 4-year-long break from the subreddit and didn't make a return until October 9th of this year. His new golden goose stock was Applied Digital, and we can see he was up a total of 52.7K with his calls and shares being worth a total of $158,000. Later on, he updated the post letting us know that he sold all of his Applied. He sold his shares for $129.6K and calls for $70,000, which meant he made a total realized gain of $94,000. He said he will definitely buy back into it if the stock tanks back down or if there are any rumors of more potential contracts. 5 days after that post, he made a new one showing that he threw just over $50,000 into out-of-the-money Nvidia calls that expired in a few months. Considering most Wall Street Bets users buy contracts that expire in a few hours, this was a breath of fresh air. But WSB Newbie also said, no DD, pure instinct. 5 days later, Nvidia was down just about 1%, and he felt like this was an even better buying opportunity, so he averaged down quite a bit, getting an additional 45 contracts. He was down $7,500, but of course, he still had a decent amount of time till the contracts expired, so he wasn't too worried just yet. And just a couple days after that, Nvidia still didn't pick back up, so he decided to average down even harder. He doubled his contracts to 200 and now had just about 164K on the line. And the day after that, Nvidia finally started to swing upwards, so WSB newbie quickly locked in profit while he could. Nvidia jumped 11.5% over the next 3 trading days though. Looking at the contract history, he missed out on an additional $245,000 in gains, but WSB newbie seems too wise to be tripped up by gains he missed out on. Profit is profit. If we all held to the top, we'd all be billionaires. Hindsight is always 20/20. 2 days after that post, he followed up with another $26.4 thousand gain, this time with gap calls. A lot of users talk trash in the comments telling him that he had such soft paper hands and that the stock would rocket in the next few weeks, and it did. If WSB newbie held his $70,000 investment, it would have been worth $227K by the start of December. But like he said before, profit is profit. WSB newbie was on a pretty good streak over the past week, so he decided to push his luck even further. Towards the end of October, Applied Digital was up 317% year to date, and he felt like it was the perfect time to YOLO into the stock. He threw just about $33,000 into shares and 83.5K into calls that expired a few months later. Tropical Possum 954 said, "Never buy the dip. Buy when it's high." He pretty quickly ended up doubling down on his calls by adding another 100 contracts, and this somehow ended up to be yet another winning trade. He sold his shares for $35K and sold his calls for a $24,000 profit. WSB newbie felt pretty unstoppable at this point, so only a few days later, he threw 101K into Meta calls that were pretty darn far out of the money. Meta just reported earnings 2 days prior, and the stock fell over $100 per share because they expect that expenses are going to grow quite a bit, and because of a one-time tax payment. Flat Focus 7966 said, "Meta is gonna bounce back so hard. Those dissing it now will love it at 750 in a few months." Meta was not bouncing back so hard though, so WSB newbie averaged down like always and added an additional 67 contracts to get to an even 100. He now had a total of 248K invested, but was already down $32,000. He also threw an additional 120K into more out of the money applied calls that he was already down 9,500 on. He stopped posting for 3 weeks, but was still making some very risky moves behind the scenes. Meta and Applied both kept falling, and he kept averaging down, bringing us to November 24th when he posted both of these unsavory screenshots. Down 152K on Applied and 157K on Meta, things are looking terrible. Even worse than that, it doesn't seem like WSB newbie is going to sell any of these contracts. He could sell now and still walk away with about $200,000, or he could bank on Applied doubling in price by the middle of January and Meta making its way back up to $770. Who Rule the World is a Canadian user who loves setting money on fire. His first relevant post to Wall Street Bets was made back in January of 2024. He was up 830% on AMD, but only had one contract. He got back to us a week and a half later though with a broader view of his portfolio, and things weren't looking as good. It didn't matter if the company was American or Canadian, but it seemed like it was a penny stock only mandate for him. He was down 99.8%, not on Beyond Meat, but on Beyond Medical. DJ Hamster asked if he held a specific stock throughout its multiple reverse splits, and he said, "Yeah, I guess. Bro, I don't even know what company this originally was. It changed names." So he literally doesn't even know what stocks he's holding. He went on a year-long break after that with only the occasional post about Roaring Kitty and wanting to take down Canada Post. He finally came back to the subreddit at the end of March, and things were actually going quite well. Mainly thanks to MicroStrategy, he was up $60,000 for the day, and his total portfolio was now worth just under $250,000. He posted this 2 days before Liberation Day though, so he was about to be in for a rough ride. Or maybe not, because he bought SPY and QQQ calls after the market dipped and made a $150,000 profit in a single day. This gain was spread throughout a few different accounts, but after that post, he took another 3-month-long break. But when he got back to us on June 30th, things weren't looking as profitable as before. He was down 143K over the past month and figured the only way he'd be able to save his portfolio was by throwing it all into MicroStrategy. This user said, "Yeah, go ahead and sell those." And he did. A day later, he said, "Screw MicroStrategy." Since his last post, he lost 30K on the stock, sold it, and now threw everything he had left into Apple and Nvidia calls. These all expired in 2 to 3 weeks, so he would lose all of his money if the market didn't go on a strong rally. He came back to the subreddit only a day later to show us that his portfolio was up 67% for the day, but that he wasn't selling until he made back all his losses. Grrr. This user said, "What about taking it back in batches, selling local tops and buying local lows?"
No.
And Who Ruled the World replied with, "Is it gonna drop tomorrow? Tell me right now. I'll effing sell it right now." He came back the next day and his portfolio was now worth 196K. Good enough, withdrawing everything. He definitely settled a bit, but despite his volatile trading journey, he was still up nearly 800% over the past year. Now he was gonna withdraw it all and buy bonds. But apparently that was a big lie because he came back to Reddit on August 11th, letting everyone know that he was now a millionaire. He also lets us know that this trading streak all started with him taking out credit card loans. He knows that's a pretty dumb thing to do, but he made his way to $1 million in less than 2 years because of it. He ends the post with, "Would be a shame to lose $1 million. But it would also be a shame to not try to turn this into 10 million. No, I don't really think it would be a shame, but he still got back to us 11 days later with "Open is primed for another 100% at least." And funnily enough, it was, but he didn't wait to see it through and instead lost even more money with Beyond. And about a month later, he got back to us with this screenshot. "It's over for me." He said across all of his accounts, he lost over $1 million and was down to his last 130K. He hasn't been able to sleep, eat, or shower, and appreciates all the supportive comments. He said he needs a job to turn his life around because trading clearly isn't working out for him anymore. Embarrassed Score 360 is a user who believed a little bit too hard in MicroStrategy, just like someone else in this video. His first post was made back on January 16th, where he posted a screenshot of his Misty dividend payout, which is a yield max ETF on MicroStrategy. He posted a screenshot of his EA calls 2 weeks later that he was up 1400% on. Then he posted another screenshot of his yield max portfolio on May 13th that he had 23K in. New to trading stocks said, "Misty as good as BTC. Imagine BTC to 1 million. A few months later, he posted another screenshot of his Robinhood portfolio that was up 23K year to date, including his Roth IRA. Throughout both of his portfolios though, he only had 5 shares of QQQ and 3 shares of VU, so he definitely wasn't taking the safe and easy route. On August 27th, he bought $5,500 worth of at-the-money Robinhood calls. A week and a half later, the stock got added to the S&P 500 and jumped up over 15% in a single day. He still had about a month till his contracts expired, but he figured that now would be the perfect time to sell with a $6,700 total gain. If he held, he would have made another 32K, but he still locked in a great profit. He got really excited just over a month later though, and threw just about 49K into out-of-the-money MicroStrategy calls that expired in a month and a half. The stock needed to jump over 12% for him to just break even, so things were definitely looking dangerous. He returned to WallStreetBets on October 22nd with a disappointing update. He was down $8,600 for the day and almost 33K total. Worse than that, he lets us know that he's still in college. He thought Bitcoin was headed to the moon, but apparently not. He got wrecked. Despite getting wrecked though, he stayed true to MicroStrategy, and they stayed true to him by completely destroying his portfolio. 85.5K became $12,000 in a month and a half. He says, "Hi, I'm 22 and in college. I spent the last 5 years working hard to save money, only to lose most of it in 2 months. I still believe both BMNR and MicroStrategy will rise long term, but I'm out of funds to buy more." Dangerous Chemical 8 is a user who has actually gotten pretty lucky throughout his trading journey. His first post was made back on February 11th when he was feeling very bullish on Coca-Cola. He had 1,100 calls at the $70 strike price and 200 at the $72.50 strike price. The stock rose 5% in a single day, which is a pretty big move for a stock like Coca-Cola. His portfolio was now sitting at 421K with a 33% gain for the day. He stopped posting on WallStreetBets, but 2 months later, he decided to buy 21 $21,000 worth of out-of-the-money Nvidia calls. The stock and overall market just took a pretty big tumble after Liberation Day, but Dangerous Chemical felt like a rebound was coming any minute now. First day of holding though, things only got worse as his $21,000 position dwindled down to just $6K. By the 9th, his calls only had 2 days left till expiration, and the stock still didn't pick back up yet, until Trump announced a 90-day tariff pause. Within about an hour, his calls jumped from $6K all the way up to $74,000. What a bailout! He didn't hit the sell button just yet though, even though he was up $68K for the day and only had 2 days left till expiration. Nvidia kept on rising all the way up 19% for the day, and his calls grew even more to a total value of $131K. His calls 22x that day, and he says that he's been grinding Fortnite the last 2 days. A month later, he posted about buying a new Supra, but didn't give us any portfolio updates on Wall Street Bets. 3 months later though, he posted a new screenshot, and things were definitely turned up a few notches. With pretty much everything in Apple and SPY calls, his portfolio was up $763K over the past week and now worth over 1.3 mil. He posted a picture of his Supra and took another few month-long break, finally getting back to us on November 13th. SPY was down almost 2% for the day, but that was okay because Dangerous Chemical sold calls a few days prior. He was up 183K so far, and if he held for just one more day, he would have made another 60K. Got banned again too is a user who traded his way into debt. His first post was made back in February of 2024, where he shared a screenshot of his SPY calls that weren't looking so hot. He came back 7 months later to post a screenshot of even more short-dated SPY losses. A couple weeks later, he posted a screenshot of his portfolio, and only being down $500 for the past week, this wasn't really post-worthy. But don't worry, in the comments he let us know that he's actually down over 65K. He posted a $2,000 loss 2 months after that, $1,400 loss a few months after that, and a $2,900 loss 3 weeks after that. None of that even started to come close to what he did to his portfolio on November 20th though. Apparently, he wanted to have a really good Thanksgiving, so he bought a whole lot of calls and, well, ended up losing his entire portfolio in a day. He took out a loan on his 401k and maybe a personal loan and lost $113,000 that day. With only $7,400 left in his portfolio, he said, "It's all over." Prize Investment 1447 is a user who jumped straight into action with a post titled, "Sigh." He was down about 8K for the day, 87K all time, and had just about $30,000 left in his portfolio. He lost 46.5K with Meta calls, almost 11K with Netflix calls, and about 18.6K with Coinbase puts. He disabled options and vowed to stick to saving money and just buying dips when they presented themselves. He posted this on November 4th, but if he would have held his contracts just a few weeks longer, he would have been pretty deep in the green. After he sold his Coinbase puts, the stock fell 28% in 2 weeks. Heavy sigh. Don't paper hand. He came back to Wall Street Bets to show that instead of selling his puts for $39K, he could have sold them for $240,000. Florida Man Chief is a user who may have had his retirement delayed by a few years, or decades. His first post was made on July 17th with the title, "XRP will retire me in the future." Traders with that much confidence usually end up making pretty questionable moves, but for the time being, he had just under $40,000 worth of XRP. He ended up ditching the XRP and moving on over to trading on Robinhood. And this is when he says he started to take trading seriously. He made sure to track every single trade he made, a lot of times with multiple a day. Jumping ahead to the end of November, he made a grand total of 3,764 trades and didn't make, but lost $31,000. The chart makes it seem like he's down 1.44%, but that's actually just the average outcome of each one of his trades. Florida Man Chief clarifies that this money he lost was most of his net worth, so it seems like his Robinhood account was funded with his crypto wallet. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment who had the craziest trade.